Good evening, everyone. Sorry that we are delayed by 5 minutes. I would like to welcome you all to our board meeting tonight. To access translations, please click on the globe icon below, or at Dejan, you can go to the corner of the room to get materials. We are returning from closed session.
Estamos regresando de sesión cerrada.
Sorry, let's try that again. We are returning from closed session. After our opening procedures, the public will have the opportunity to make public comment. The board has changed public comment format. We have opportunities on non-agenda items in person through the Zoom app and by telephone at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment will last 1 hour. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. If you're a request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak on an agenda item. After it's been turned in to staff, they place them in the order when they are turned in. We also call on speakers one at a time and alternating between public comment at Dejan and one on Zoom. If by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app or by pressing *9 if accessing the meeting by phone. No yielding of time or substitution of speakers are permitted. The public will also have the opportunity to make public comment on who couldn't hear us. Okay. Just 1 second, everyone. We're having technical.
Mic test.
Es un burrito que me comí. Cuidado.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to the board meeting tonight. To access translation, please click on the globe icon below, or at Dejan, you can go to the corner of the room to get materials. We are returning from closed session. After our opening procedures, the public will have the opportunity for public comment. The board has changed the public comment format. We have opportunities on non-agenda items in person, through the Zoom app, and by the telephone at the beginning of the meeting. Public comment will last 1 hour. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. If you are attending the meeting in person, you will need to submit a request to address the board form to indicate your desire to speak on an agenda item. After it has been turned in to staff, they are placed in order of when they are turned in. We also call on speakers one at a time and alternating between public comment at Dejan and one on Zoom. If participating via Zoom, you will need to raise your hand by clicking on the appropriate icon in the Zoom app, or by pressing *9 if accessing the meeting by phone. No yielding of time or substitution of speaker is permitted. The public will also have the opportunity to make public comment on agenda items after the staff presentation for each discussion and action item. The public will have 10 minutes per item and 1 minute per speaker. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Now let's move to our opening procedures. First, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are willing and able, please rise.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hurst. We're now moving to our land, labor, and body acknowledgement. The first is the land acknowledgement. We have a video from the students from Pinole Valley High School.
We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chochenyo, Muwekma, Cardigan, and Lonoke peoples, and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy.
Thank you very much, Pinole Valley High School. We are now moving on to our labor and body recognition and acknowledgement. I acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systemic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the building of this country and its institutions. I remember that Black and brown people were born and died working this land against their will for generations. I also acknowledge the continued contribution of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today, of all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, trafficked, forced, and undocumented peoples in the building of what we refer to as the United States. We are on agenda item B4, the West Contra Costa Unified School District Board Anti-Racism Statement. The West Contra Costa School District Board of Education is committed to the work of anti-racism, the conscious and active effort to identify, challenge, and correct racial inequities in the systems and institutions within our schools and community. Racism, explicit or implicit, stands in direct conflict to the fundamental principles of WCCUSD education. To carry WCCUSD education into the future, we recognize that we must continually renew and reflect on the roots of racism and develop new ideas to meet the times. Unjust ideas and policies and the racial inequity that they produce have shaped us, our schools, and our society. We strive to uncover unconscious biases and practice anti-racism as individuals and as board members. We challenge ourselves to persist through the discomfort necessary for growth and learning, to deepen our listening and our examination of racism and oppression, and to develop a strong understanding of how our personal experiences and feelings fit into the larger picture of continual oppression. Each member of our school board, individually and collectively, is responsible for creating and nurturing an anti-racist learning environment where each student, staff member, and community partner is a respected and valued member of WCC USD community. We are uniquely positioned, and it is our responsibility to identify and dismantle racist ideas and inequitable policies in ourselves and across the district. Therefore, we commit to supporting anti-racist policies, programs, and practices in our children's education and well-being while building strong and inclusive school communities. We commit to holding each board member accountable towards these goals and moving the work of anti-racism forward. We also commit to holding West Contra Costa Unified School District staff, students, and community to living these standards of anti-racism in our school. We are now moving on to agenda item B5. Dr. Hurst, this is roll call.
Thank you, ma'am. President Smith Folds,
Good evening, everyone present.
Clerk Gonzalez Hoy is absent. Trustee Christian,
Good evening, President.
Trustee Reckler,
Good evening, I'm present.
Trustee Phillips is absent. Student Trustee Luke Wilson,
Present.
Student Trustee Jorge Espinoza Jr.
Good evening, everyone present.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. For those of you who are on Zoom and in the audience, we have 3 board members here tonight. You have to have 3 board members for it to be a board meeting. If any one of us gets up, the meeting has to pause. If any one of us has to leave, the meeting has to stop. That's just a little parliamentary procedure. All right. We are now moving on to agenda item B6, report ratification of closed session. Dr. Hurst, is there anything to report out?
No report, ma'am.
Thank you. We are now moving to B7, student performances. Ms. Catherine Raproskis, this is your item. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Good evening, President Smith Folds, members of the board, and members of the community. It is my distinct honor to welcome up to the podium the proud principal of Grant Elementary School to be able to introduce Son de la Tierra and her students.
Good evening. Good evening, President Smith Folds, board members, audience. I am very proud to present my Grand Grizzlies along with Son de la Tierra, who are a resident company with East Bay Center for Performing Arts. We have had a great partnership with them for the last 10 years. That means since I began being principal at the school. So we have the programming for TK through 6th grade. And I am so proud of our students. Leah Johnson, London Rodriguez, Jocelyn Figuera, Stacy Flores, Ignacio Ramirez, Cesar Vesperano, Steven Vieira, and Samuel Jimenez, who volunteered to perform tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Performers, we're going to come down so we can just watch you because we can't see you from up here. We're going to come down so we can watch you. Just give us 2 seconds to come down. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. This is our last piece. We'll be playing La Bamba with our special guest from Grant Elementary. Vamos a tocar música. Bueno, estamos tocando música del sur de Veracruz y vamos a tocar el último son que se llama La Bamba.
Ready?
Thank you very much, Grant Elementary School. That was an absolutely wonderful performance. We are now moving to B8, WCC USD public comment. Members of the public are invited to speak to the board about any matter that is not otherwise on the agenda and is related to issues affecting public education in WCC USD. Public comment will last approximately 60 minutes. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. Individuals wishing to speak must submit a WCC USD public comment form or participating by Zoom. Individuals need to raise their hand in the Zoom app. If you want to speak, please submit your form to speak now so we can make sure that we have you on the list. Everybody listening in the audience and people on Zoom, we're going to go for 1 hour at 2 minutes. And then after that 1 hour, we're going to go an additional 30 minutes for 1 minute. So we can hear an additional 30 people. Board, if you have no objection to that, that's going to be the ruling from the chair. Seeing no objection, we are 1 hour at 2 minutes and then 30 additional minutes at 1 minute apiece. Thank you so very much. Dr. Hurst, would you have something that you wanted to say, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I have a message for the El Cerrito High School community that I would like to share. We're aware of several comments and concerns circulating across the community and social media regarding the investigation into student athlete eligibility within the EC football program, and we want to address some inaccuracies. First and foremost, it's essential to clarify that Principal Norrington did not initiate this investigation. The investigation was initiated by the superintendent, me, after receiving credible information regarding possible ineligibility issues related to the ECHS football program. This action aligns with our commitment to maintain the integrity of our athletics programs and ensure compliance with the California Interscholastic Federation, CIF, rules and regulations. As a member of CIF, the district is required to adhere to specific guidelines, including the obligation to immediately investigate information received. This process allows the district to address any concerns proactively and transparently. By adhering to the CIF protocols, we aim to reduce any eventual sanction or further consequences that could impact our students and programs or our eligibility to obtain CIF membership. It is critical for the district to uphold these standards to maintain our standing within CIF and continue offering quality athletic programs to our students. We understand that this situation has caused frustration and concern among students and families. Our primary focus remains on the well-being of our students and ensuring they have the opportunity to thrive both academically and athletically. We have started meeting with students to offer support and confidential spaces to process their feelings. For students and student athletes who wish to speak to someone about their thoughts and feelings during this process, the district has provided resources outside of El Cerrito High School. Students can contact our Student Services Office of Positive School Climate Team for social, emotional, and mental health support. For additional information related to support, please reach out to 510-307-4589 or email LaShante Smith, which is lsmith2 @wccusd.net. As we navigate through this process, we appreciate your cooperation and understanding. We're committed to fully cooperating with CIF regulations and will continue to prioritize the best interests of our students. While we will provide as many updates as possible, we must respect the confidentiality of the investigation. Your support is invaluable as we work together to resolve these issues. Thank you for your patience and understanding. I turn it back over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hurst. Everyone, I forgot to read the last little part of our public comment instructions. I read it before, but I'll read it again just to make sure. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Okay, staff, do we have public comment?
Yes, we do. Our first public comment is Alon Harrison.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Okay, there I go. All right, good evening, board. I am really concerned because I went to the ASAP meeting last week, and do you know, they said we ain't getting no Kwanzaa, no Black College Tour, no HBCU tour, no honor ceremony, no graduation, and no parent appreciation. And we didn't have nothing but Title I money, and all of it was going to the staff and to supplies. That's unacceptable. Dr. Hurst, we talked about this before. Come on. We cannot do nothing for the kids all year long. They're not gonna do nothing. They said we didn't have any money to do anything for these children all year long. So ASAP can't do anything. We can't plan anything for our parents. We can't plan anything for our children. They said all the money was going to staff to improve the over-identification and suspensions. And we don't even know what programs is that gonna be for the kids. I know that you are not going to let that happen to our children. Last time I told you that, you addressed it. I need you to do that again because that's very unacceptable. We tried to meet with the OASA office since August, and they have not met with us. They just met with us and then came to tell us we're not getting nothing for our kids, nothing the whole year long. And I can't see the board and y'all taking away everything from the families, parent engagement, and the children. That's just, we can't do that. We can't do that. We cannot do that. That's gonna cause a lot of harm for our children, and we're not gonna see ourselves in the educational system if Black kids can't have anything all year long. I really expect this board and our superintendent and his cabinet level to really change that. And I'm gonna be looking forward to that change. Dr. Hurst, I know you have addressed this in the past, and I'm looking forward to your leadership addressing it again. Thank you. I'm complete.
Our next public comment is Jay Irvin. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, Superintendent Hurst, President Smith Folds, and WCC Board Trustees. My name is Jay Irvin, Principal of Soskin Middle School and Executive Board Member for WCCAA. Tonight, I'm speaking as a secondary rep on behalf of WCCAA. Principal Norrington and the district's administrators are faced with the challenge of making tough decisions every day. Decisions that often require balancing diverse perspectives while staying focused on what's best for the entire school. Their ability to make these difficult choices demonstrates strong leadership and a commitment to the success of our schools. We fully support Principal Norrington and all the administrators in our district for their unwavering dedication to fostering a positive and enriching learning environment. Thank you and have a good night.
Our next public comment is Teresa Griffin.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Teresa Griffin, and I am a longtime teacher at Stage Elementary. This is my second career, 20 years in the corporate world. And the reason I started teaching was I saw the racial injustice that was happening to our Black kids, particularly at Stage, which is where I have chosen to be, having raised my children in the Stage community. So I have a couple of things in my minute and a half left to talk about Stage. Stage was originally supposed to be rebuilt in 2008, 2009 after Coronado was built. Lo and behold, we got dropped off of the list without really too much of an explanation. Then we had another time where we got last minute told charter school put on our school for $950,000. That's how much it cost the district for them to be there for 1 year. And the district knew they were going to be there for 1 year. So now I'm going to just jump to today because I have way too much to say. But right now we are crowded over there in those two buildings over there because of the lead and asbestos they found at our school. We don't know how long that's going to happen or how they're going to fix it, other than they did tell us they want to do a modernization, where they want to put modulars on the campus and not rebuild Stage like they've done all the other schools. That's inequity, that's racism. Stage deserves to have a bill from the ground up like all the other kids, and we have the most Black kids in the elementary school in this whole district. Rebuild, not.
Our next public comment is Angeli Barrios. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, this is Angeli Barrios on behalf of Coach Jacqueline Valencia. I am a Kennedy alumni and played for Coach Jacqueline the sports soccer, volleyball, and softball. She is the reason why I decided to play soccer at Contra Costa College since she is the assistant coach for the women's soccer team. She has been a strong foundation at Kennedy for the past 8 years. She has always advocated for the women's sports team. She has always spoke on student athletes' behalf, making sure they got new uniforms, new equipment, and many times she has never received it. Coach Jackie has helped improve all the sports teams at Kennedy throughout the years she has worked there. As of now, Kennedy has hired a new coach, and when she was asked by students why she wanted to coach at Kennedy, she just said that she took the coaching position because there was no coach, which was far from the truth. Coach Jacqueline still planned to coach at Kennedy, but she was unfairly removed from the position, affecting the well-being of many students at Kennedy High School. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Natalie Allen.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Allen, and I am a resident of Richmond, a long, almost lifetime member of the community of Steege School. I was raised across the street from Steege School. I attended Steege for 2 years, 5th and 6th grade, starting in 1959. The school at that time was in need of a lot of repair, not as much as it is today, but there has been no improvements since that time as far as the bathrooms, no remodeling, as far as making it available to have a cafeteria. It's basically the same as it was, except for they had just a very few improvements as far as, or changes, not improvements, as far as the playgrounds. Steege School is old and it needs to be torn down. There's asbestos. There's the plumbing is horrible, and it's not a school that children should have to attend. You wouldn't want to attend that school, or I'm sure anyone that has children that are in that would be in elementary school would want your children to attend there. And we need to improve it. And it needs to be torn down and
Our next public comment is Maisha Harris Gash. Please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself. Maisha Harris Gash, please unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, finally, maybe there's a technical delay. So, good evening, everybody. My Sheriff's Gash, Kennedy High School. One, could somebody get me a copy of that 74-page Kennedy specialization yada yada report that's in the agenda? Because I can't read that much text online. That doesn't work for me. I need to underline, annotate, that kind of thing. So today I had this thought. My good days are better than my bad days. Some of y'all know that gospel song. If I could sing, I would sing it, but I don't know how to sing, so I'm not going to do anything like that to everybody. Because last week, it was kind of like the Wild Wild West at Kennedy. You know, I love the kids. That's why I keep coming back. But today I had this thought. My good days outweigh my bad days as an educator. And so on Wednesdays, I show a motivational video. Most of the time, it's Dr. Eric Thomas, AKA E.T. the hip hop preacher. So today's video, he talked about getting his first debit card and how he went to use it and then it didn't work. And he was like, no, I know I got $1,500 on that card. So then he told the lady, go check the code. What did the code say? Well, the code said that he had not activated the card. So his point to young people is, you guys are not activating your greatness. You're not activating your skill set. You're not activating all the gifts that have been given to you, and we need you to activate those things. So, I play the video and then I always ask the kids, what did you hear? Some get little bits and pieces, some get more. But that just really resonated with me today as we end quarter 1, going into quarter 2, and sharing with my students. Whatever you didn't activate in quarter 1, I need you to start activating it in quarter 2. I'm here for you at lunchtime or whatever it is, but I need you to activate your greatness. Everybody have a wonderfully blessed night.
Our next public comment is Josiah Jones.
Hello. We're here behalf of the ECHS basketball program. My name is Josiah Jones. I'm a senior at El Cerrito, and I've been a part of the basketball program for the last 3 years. I'm here to speak about my experience with the basketball program and specifically Coach Nick. He's the first male figure in my academic life to support me unconditionally. Yes, he wants us to achieve our basketball dreams, but he also holds us accountable for our academics. He reminds us that we are students first. I have full confidence in his abilities as a coach. He's been exceptional as a coach. Coach Nick has been a mentor to me and my teammates. He's shown up for all of us, whether we played Frost, JV, or varsity. He was present and supportive of all sports at ECHS, even when the principal was not. That's what makes Coach Nick valuable, unmatched, and why he should remain head coach of the basketball program at EC. It's stressful to be dealing with this yet again after we just got Coach Nick back. We're here in my last year playing basketball for El Cerrito, my last season playing with my childhood friends and people I consider brothers. The season we have worked so hard for is being threatened yet again. You have the power to stop this and give us what we deserve. A season with our coach, Coach Nick. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Rocio Reyes. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening, Superintendent Hurst, President Smith-Folds, and Board Trustees. My name is Rocio Reyes, Principal of Richmond High School and Executive Board Member of WCCAA. Tonight, I'm speaking on behalf of WCCAA in support of Principal Norrington. As many of you know, the role of a high school principal is complex and a large task. The principals in our district are dedicated and committed to their students and their community. Often we have to make decisions that are difficult, but in the best interest of our community. Our union supports the hard work of all our administrators, including that of Mr. Norrington, and we ask that our district continue to provide a safe environment for our students and our staff. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Janisha J. Talton.
Good evening, board. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Janisha Talton. I am a parent of a student athlete at El Cerrito High School. I would like to first say thank you to Dr. Hurst for taking the responsibility in the West Contra Costa Unified School District for failing us as leaders and wanting to take full responsibility for starting this fiasco of lies and harassment directed towards our football team. But it still will not change the fact that Mr. Malcolm Norrington, the guys you guys have appointed to be the face and leader of El Cerrito High School, has also failed us as parents and our children. West Contra Costa Unified School District has also failed us by bringing a man in and around our children with over 10 court cases against him. One being him knowing that the hazing of hazing of children at another school that involved a sex toy. And he never reported this case. The second case being him with the harassment of another young woman in LA County. And the third, him being sued by 6 different banks. You guys have hired a criminal to be around our children. You guys have ignored all the wrong things in this situation. We stand with Coach Jake, and we want Norrington removed immediately for the safety of our children at El Cerrito High School. Thank you.
Our next public comment is LaShante Smith. Please unmute yourself. Next public comment is Angelica Barrios. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Hello, my name is Angelica Barrios, and I spoke up in the last board meeting on the issue of Coach Jackie being removed from coaching soccer at Kennedy High. Since then, nothing has changed. Yesterday, we met the new coach for the first time, and the question was asked, "What made you want to coach at Kennedy?" The new coach replied back saying about the soccer position being vacant, "No coach was here at Kennedy." That is upsetting and not true. I play soccer, volleyball, and softball. We have played the championship soccer game under Coach Jackie. We won the league playoffs in softball under Coach Jackie. It is my senior year, my 4th year under Coach Jackie, and I feel this is unfair to the progress we have made as a team in all sports. Our coach is dedicated, cares about our education and well-being. I started an online petition, and we already have 495 signatures. And there's also 150 handwritten signatures at school that I will be delivering to you, Dr. Hurst, tomorrow, along with students plus parents' letters to bring Coach Jackie back. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Michelle Jones-Jackson.
Good evening. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And we have gone around this community showing our presentation about the present conditions of Stige Elementary School. What we are asking tonight, Stige family, asking tonight is that you give us some type of confirmation that Stige Elementary School will be rebuilt. There's no way it can be modernized. There should not be a prerequisite to rebuilding the school with packing this place with parents and teachers and staff. That should not be the prerequisite. But what we should do is to redeem the money that was taken from Stige. And I'm sure everybody knows where that money is. Redeem that money and give it to Stige so we will have what was meant to be for us, especially in 2016 when the school was listed as number 3 to be rebuilt. And Kennedy and Richmond High was number 7 and number 13. And now the contract has been signed. And the process for Richmond High and Kennedy has begun. Stige again has been overlooked. Board, the decision that you make for Stige will not only impact the Stige community and bring back the trust, but it would say a lot about you to this community. So redeem Stige, redeem the resources that was there for Stige to build Stige back. And we will have a model school in that community.
Our next public comment is Anita Summerlin. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Good evening, Board Superintendent Hurst. Tonight, I'm Anita Summerlin. I am a Soskin Middle School parent, a West Contra Costa homeowner, and a former AP at Kennedy High School. And tonight, I come to you to speak on behalf of Coach Jackie, who was our soccer coach at Kennedy. She was soccer coach while I was there. And as you have heard several of our students speak tonight about her abrupt release from her soccer position. As you've heard some of the parents speak and some of the students speak, what is important in school athletics is that we have people who have integrity, that we have people who encourage students to come into the athletics in our community and build character. Athleticism, it builds character. But we have to have good people in those roles, and we have to support our people. Coach Jackie, she has always been there consistently for her students. I've never at any of the games seen her be inappropriate with students, even at practices. That is why students are willing to speak up so abruptly on her about reinstating her. And also, without an explanation, no coach should ever be let go of without unacceptable reports. What are the unacceptable reports that, and I know you guys, of course, can't give us all of the information, but the community deserves a statement at least on what happened here. These students, their voices need to be heard. At this point, releasing someone who had such a huge impact on the Kennedy community and on those students, some of which have been with her since their sophomore years, and they're about to graduate, they're going on to get scholarships. They really need that support that she was giving them. I ask that you look into this immediately. Thank you. I'm complete.
Our next public comment is Tiara Speech. Tiara Speech. Our next public comment is Mary Spearman.
Good evening. My name is Mary Spearman, and I live in the Laurel Park neighborhood which Stage School serves. Over the last 58 years, we've been talking about doing something about Stage, improving Stage. Every time there is a school board bond issue, we have supported it. Because every time there is one, we get all of this rhetoric about they're going to do something with Stage. They've not done anything with Stage. Now we hear that Stage keeps moving further and further down the line from everybody else is getting new facilities. Why are we not? When I saw some of the pictures with the conditions, to be very honest with you, I have not slept well. I cannot see how any of you with any conscience could look at any of those pictures and be able to go home at night and say, we can't find the money, we can't do anything for these children. It's absolutely deplorable. I drove past Stage today. I drove around it. The grass, even with the children out there, the grass has grown up. It looks like it's been abandoned for 15, 20, 30 years. It's just absolutely deplorable, and it's absolutely unconscionable and borders on criminality to treat children that way. And, I don't have children in the school system. I haven't for many years. My husband went to Stage. He's almost 85 years old.
Our next public comment is Jacqueline Valencia. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jacqueline Valencia, Coach Jackie. I graduated from Kennedy High School in 2010. I was a student, school board representative myself, and an active leader at Kennedy High School during my 4 years. I'm from this community. I decided to coach at Kennedy and give back and pour into the female athletes through an education first lens. And all the sports that I coach, I prioritize school attendance, grades, and sportsmanship on and off the field. I've coached soccer for 8 years at Kennedy, volleyball for 3 years, and just ended volleyball actually my 3rd year last week. We lost in playoffs in second round. And I've coached softball for 2 years. And as one of the students mentioned, we won league championship 2 years ago and went off to NCS with only 12 players. So it's been detrimental that I think my voice, the voices of the students are being heard because I feel like I'm being pushed out of Kennedy. And it doesn't matter that it's after 8 years. I think what matters here is that I'm being pushed out for expressing my concerns about lack of access and the lack of access to the restrooms, not having keys, no equity in sports, and no equity in uniforms. And I feel like that, again, I'm being pushed out. I'm deeply hurt that, this is happening. And I hope that I would have had an equitable, hiring process for the soccer position. And I wasn't even interviewed for volleyball. I was just given the position. And I don't understand why now for soccer, this is happening. And probably they're not going to allow me to coach softball either. This was, my last year that I was planning to coach at Kennedy because of these issues, but I didn't want to get pushed out and thrown out like this. I don't think it's fair, and I hope that we can do something.
Our next public comment is Don Gosney.
Good evening. My name is Don Gosney. Let's talk a little bit about Stige, the oldest school in our school district. Well, I hope you keep in mind that when they built Stige, right at the beginning of World War II, it was throw it up quick because we needed some place to be able to store these kids while we educated them. It wasn't built to last 25 or 50 years. It was built to last as long as the war. And then we're still using it 82 years later. Something's wrong about that, don't you think? But here's a little something for you too. The public is more than just the Stige community. I don't live in the Stige community, but I get to pay for that school. People of Hercules get to pay for that school. People of Kensington get to pay for that school. But as we need to ask, not only who is paying for the schools, who gets to live with the end product? We all do. We get to live with a reputation about what happens at Stige. And there's all kinds of meetings being held, but the public isn't being made aware of them. Even the media isn't invited to these meetings. Why do we trying to keep all this information secret? And there have been too much erroneous information being spread out there. We keep hearing from officials with the district that they can guarantee this community they can get them a brand new school in 1 year, when it takes the rest of the building community 4 to 6 years to get a school built. How is this happening? You got $46.3 million, $43.6 million, whatever it is. That's all that's been allocated for this school. But it's going to cost $80 to $90 million for a new school. And that's what this community deserves. Not a patch job. Do not expect to go to Home Depot and get a sale on duct tape to patch it. That's just the wrong way to go things. But we need to rebuild some trust with this community here. And this is not the way to do it. Another item for you. Be aware, you got a parcel tax that's going to be ending before the next school year starts. This pays for most of our sports programs. It pays for the libraries. It pays for the music program. It pays for the counselors. And this board did not do anything to put the renewal on this ballot that's going to be up in just a week or two. So what are you going to do when
Our next public comment is iPhone. Please unmute yourself.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi. My name is Crystal Perez.
And I spoke in the last meeting about Coach Jackie, and no changes have been done. So, Coach Jackie has always tried helping the girls soccer team, and for her to be replaced by another coach is unfair. She cares about the team so much that she's been asking, the school for new equipment and new uniforms for us. And for her to be rejected like that as the soccer coach, I think it's really unjust. And so me and some other players are not going to be playing on our senior year if Coach Jackie doesn't come back. So please bring back Coach Jackie. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Nagar Souza.
Good evening. I've been in the district for about 20 years. I have 2 ECHS graduates, and I have 1 currently at the school. I've seen many principals and many superintendents in my time. My children have all played sports, and in fact, 1 moved on and was recruited to play softball collegiately. I have seen firsthand the importance of sports and extracurricular activities. I have seen firsthand the importance of good coaches like Coach Nick. I am here in full support of Coach Nick. Our family met Coach Nick about a year ago. Since then, his impact on my son's life and many other children have been nothing but positive. His passion, care, and ability to see a young adult first, an athlete second, and give each child what they need to flourish has been beyond what a coach's duties are. The kids look up to him, respect him, and most of all, the parents find him approachable and his style authentic. He is for the kids. It's evident in his behavior both on and off the court. The decisions made by the district regarding his suspension have a domino effect. Besides football, the decision has impacted now cheer, band, and now basketball. This not only has diminished the morale of our kids, our community, and school, but it has caused a sense of hopelessness amongst the kids. For many kids, sports and extracurricular activities keep them in a positive state of mind. It allows them to take the negative in their lives and channel it to a more positive place. It keeps them safe, off the streets, focused, and it has proven that sports and extracurricular activities help students thrive academically. For many, this is their only safe place. For others, it's a place to build their self-esteem and community. They cannot do that without the support of human beings like Coach Nick. They cannot do that if he does not return. They will lose their entire season. Our kids' mental health is at stake, and we ask that you consider the impact that your decisions have made. We ask that you bring back Coach Nick.
Our next public comment is Jasper Garcia. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. My name is Jasper Garcia, and I'm the head women's coach at Contra Costa College, as well as the coach for several age groups at Richmond Soul Soccer Club. I'm here today to speak on behalf of Coach Jacqueline Valencia, better known as Coach Jackie. She has been an integral part of my coaching staff and a critical figure in our efforts to rebuild women's soccer in this community. For the better part of a decade, Coach Jackie has dedicated herself to Kennedy High School. She's been more than just a coach. She's been a mentor, a role model, and a fierce advocate for her players. Her tireless commitment to the well-being of the students and athletes under her care has been unmatched. I've seen firsthand the incredible work Coach Jackie has done, not only at Kennedy High, but again, throughout the Richmond and St. Pablo communities. She's a valued member of our staff at Contra Costa College, my right hand, playing a vital role in the resurgence of women's soccer at the junior college level. I ask that you stand with us to ensure Coach Jackie is reinstated. Her dedication, leadership, and passion are irreplaceable. The students of Kennedy High deserve to have her in their corner. Thank you.
Our next public comment is David Drisdale.
I'm here to talk about Stige School, the criminal neglect and abuse of the students of Stige. We need to set a date for when this school is going to be remade. There's too much fungus and mold there, sewage all over the place, and asbestos. That place needs to be taken down and rebuilt. And I demand that this board put a date on a calendar for when this school is going to be rebuilt. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Rochelle Morrissey. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, my name is Rochelle Morrissey. I'm the parent of a fifth grader at West County Mandarin School. We've already been emailed to the board and have not really received a response. Since the beginning of the school year, our fifth grade class lacks a Mandarin teacher due to the teacher being on leave. We've tried at this point, the position has been left unfilled, and we are hearing that the district's policy is now to use long-term substitutes, which is not what should be done in these situations, to leave our students without a teacher. Particularly in the case of the DLI schools, the Spanish and the Mandarin, it's impossible to find teachers who speak these languages to fill these classes. This leaves our students without the education that they have been supposed to receive. And this is the second year in a row that my student has not had a full year with a credentialed teacher for the language that they were supposed to. Please, this situation needs to be remedied. At this point, it's almost November. It's almost 3 months that our 60 students have not had the teacher and the Mandarin instruction that they so deserve. Please, we are begging you to find a solution to this as soon as possible. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Guadalupe Ñana.
Good evening, board members. My name is Guadalupe Ñana, and I am here today in support of our Stige community and our El Cerrito community. I think right now we're at a point where we need to start rebuilding the commitment that we have with our community, with our families, and with our students. We cannot keep going this way. You know, the lack of communication from the district, from the superintendent, gives us space for miscommunication. And there's a lot of rumors going out there. There's a lot of things, you know, different people are saying different things, and it gets spread out into the community. And how do we address those things? I think Stige has been put on the back burner. There's no information coming out to any families, and that's a mistake. You know, we cannot move forward if we're being ignored, if we're being neglected. You know, we're at a standstill. Our Stige kids are still at Dijon. For how long? Have we addressed the families? You know, have we thought of a plan of moving forward? It's kind of a slap in the face to the community when we're here, you know, taking the time to work with district, to work with the superintendent and saying, how do we move forward? But we're still not being counted as equals. You know, we're not equal in this space, and we need to change that mind frame and make sure that we're appreciating, you know, every commitment that we're doing here. You know, we have people here that don't have students in the district that are here just to support. And I think we have to acknowledge what everyone brings to the table. So let's start talking about Stige. Let's start talking about how we're moving forward. And let's start talking about a full rebuild, because there's money there. And I support teacher housing, but I think that we need to address housing our children before we start making any more ideas and before we start spending any money that we don't have, you know, on other things. So please take and make our students first. They come first before anything. The community needs this. Our students need it. So thank you.
The next public comment is Kim Jones. Please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. My name is Kim Jones. I am a Richmond resident. I'm the director of Oakland Adult and Career Education. And I'm also a Steege alumni. I went to El Cerrito High. I spent a year at Kennedy. And when I got on this call, I was thinking that I wanted to advocate for Steege because I went to school there. My family home is across the street. Two of my sisters have spoken tonight already. Steege is a part of our community, and we're a part of Steege community. But after listening to all the speakers, I think there's a bigger problem in West Contra Costa than I knew about. And so I want to just suggest that not only do we advocate for our students, but it sounds like we're not advocating for our teachers. We're not advocating for our coaches. We're not advocating for the counselors. And we constantly talk about how hard it is to get people to be committed to coming to places like Steege and West Contra Costa because of all the challenges that we face. So I want to suggest that, first of all, with Coach Jackie, we need one person at every high school that the kids love and trust and have confidence in. And it sounds like she's that person. You guys, don't sleep on that. You guys are educators and you know exactly what I'm talking about. We all need that one person that we trust and we care about. And it sounds to me like it's Coach Jackie. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Alamo.
Seemed like it's been more tricking than it has treating in the West Contra Costa Unified School District. I'm Rodney Alamo Brown, the community advocate here in the beautiful city of Richmond, California. I'm here tonight to bring to your attention a deeply concerning issue at El Cerrito High School. There are employees and students who are afraid to report the treatment they are receiving from the principal, Malcolm Norrington, fearing retaliation. This is not hearsay. These are real ed code violations taking place, workplace bullying, and toxic environment that has driven dedicated employees to leave either the district or consider another school district. Many staff members have come to work in fear, worried that they will be fired simply for speaking up. Those who have reported this behavior are still waiting for responses or accountability, yet they show up every day living in fear. The situation for students is equally alarming. Many have shared that they rarely, if ever, see the principal because he's constantly in his office disconnected from the school community. Some students have never even met him. What's worse, he regularly records students and threatens retaliation. Just last week, he threatened to take away a student's scholarship if she didn't stop participating in the peaceful protest held during lunchtime. This behavior is unacceptable, and students have had enough. They have created a petition to remove him immediately, which currently has 1,877 signatures. Students have protested for 3 consecutive days, and they're here again tonight fighting for their rights for change. I, as a strong community advocate, demand at once that Mr. Norrington is removed from the El Cerrito campus ASAP. Whomever is responsible for bringing him here, shame on you. Miss Nash clearly stated 6 violations.
Our next public comment is Anthony Caro.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Caro, and we're here to speak on behalf of Steege Elementary School. We had a great victory today. Myself, Lakeisha, and several other community members met with Dr. Hurst and the interim facilities manager. And I just want to say thank you to the commitments that y'all made today. And this is going in the right direction that we've been waiting for a long time. To restate for the public to know what some of those commitments were, there's a commitment to a conversation around a rebuild for Stige, not a remodernization. And what that will take place, that will take place after an assessment of what the $43 million can get us and comparing that to what the total cost of a full rebuild will be. Thank you to committing to that conversation. Next is a commitment to assessing the possibility of a rebuild committee similar to what Richmond and Kennedy High got, where you involve students, parents, teachers, and community members to see how they want Stige to be rebuilt. Next is a conversation around raising an additional $27 million to bring Stege's total budget to $70 million. I know that's going to take a lot of work, and we hope to assist in any way we can, but thank you for starting that. And then lastly is a commitment to having a conversation with the county health department and appropriate partners to have a presentation on the importance of getting our students tested for lead. And for committing to having a conversation with the appropriate partners to do outreach and education to our family members who do not have a medical home. We have a lot of clinics inside of our schools, such as Kennedy High School, and I know they can be utilized, especially by those most vulnerable who do not have access to Medi-Cal. We need to get those students testing the same way that teachers and administrators get testing. So thank you to these commitments, and we will be back to follow up. A victory is only a victory if it's followed through. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Rodney Washington. Rodney Washington. Next is Tanetta Thompson.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Hurst. Can I have my East El Cerrito football family and supporters please stand up right now? We come to you tonight to ask why the football team. Nowhere in CIF's bylaws that the district has adopted in its board policies does it grant a school principal to look into student athletes' records for if one student submits fraudulent documents that deemed the student athlete ineligible. NCS determines eligibility. Additionally, it is perplexing why only the football program is under such scrutiny. CIF bylaws do not empower school principals to investigate and access student records. They do that because they have a 20-day period in which they investigate, in which they go over all documents allowing the prior school to bring up any issues that they may have. Norrington cites CIF bylaws 200 as his governing authority for the investigation that he sent to you, Dr. Hurst, on October 18th, where you actually took responsibility for that letter today. However, these are CIF bylaws and are separate. The district has no authority to do that. That's why they have a separate system. That is because transfer students submit a different set of documents and are subjected to a different set of requirements than when they enroll in a school as a transfer student. That is so that the school does not allow a student to play a sport without having the correct documentation and without having that prior school realize that that was going to be done. And again, you say that this is a confidential investigation, but Mr. Norrington has took responsibility for it and has released it to the media. And with that, we say we want the students reinstated that you have took away their games last week. And we want an apology to our team for disparaging our name and our reputation and that of our coach, because you all have done this unfairly and have
Please conclude your comment. Our next public comment is Davina Teasley.
I'm gonna be calm this time. This investigation has now been compromised. Parents are being contacted under the pretense of investigating fraudulent documentation, even before any determination of misconduct has been made. This approach is not only unfair, but also creates an environment where parents feel threatened and anxious about their children's participation in the program. Parents are just now receiving emails from the district retained investigator. Thank y'all for that. That the parents may give their side of the situation. How is this fair and equitable to the parents and students? Only after our parents spoke up about this retaliatory and harassing behavior of the program and coach does the district request the registration records of several football players, including both varsity and JV, and after being cleared by NCS, some being freshman players where NCS transfer rules do not apply. NCS only gets involved when the student transfers from school A to B. NCS is not involved with eligibility when the student enrolls in the school as a freshman, unless it's a 14-year-old freshman playing varsity. He forced two clear student athletes to sit at the Salesians games based on false information. He conveyed to these students that the investigation was complete when it was not. It is still pending according to Dr. Hurst's fake ass message to the community sent to our parent network today and yesterday. The only way these student
Excuse me
athletes
for
would
one
not be
second.
allowed to play was
I'm
if they were
sorry.
academically
Excuse me.
ineligible and are not cleared
Excuse me.
through NCS.
Hi.
This was not the case and caused
Excuse
irreparable
me,
harm
ma'am.
and attention to these student athletes.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm going to pause your time for 1 second. Okay, you're complete. Ladies and gentlemen, when we're coming to the mic, because we have students who are listening and students who are in the room, it's imperative that our language stays as clean as possible. This is just a part of the decorum. You feel free to come and say whatever you need to say, but if you can monitor your language, that would be very much appreciated. Thank you. I'm complete. You can call on the next person, please.
Our next public comment is Jacqueline Bonds.
Moreover, we are deeply concerned about the implications of the recent communication regarding Coach Jake, who is now being investigated for recruiting. This situation raises questions about fairness and transparency. How can the integrity of the investigation be maintained if the prior investigation's findings remain undisclosed? Why are more players being targeted? And why is the district expending resources on what appears to be misguided investigation? How is Coach Jake now being told the district is investigating another matter, recruiting, and as head coach, he is now allowed to be a spectator at football games, further subjecting him to public scrutiny? Why the change in what he is being investigated for and illegally running student registration records on only the football team and tying only the football players to this investigation? Before, in the beginning of the investigation, he was alleged to have violated CIF bylaws 200 and 500 series and could not have any contact with the team. Now that the misinformation and mishanding and targeting and harassment of the entire program has come to public light, are the parameters of the investigation changed and the district is extending their investigation when, according to Norrington, he has concluded his investigation and put forth the false narrative that Coach Jake was playing ineligible players? If that is the case, again, shut down the investigation and let the players and staff continue with their season without the fear of accessing their confidential information and harassment.
Our next public comment is Robert Creer.
Good evening, board members. This reminds me of back in Richmond Unified School District. I started at Siege Elementary School when 1944 as a traffic boy. And it's appalling to be an employee of the school district, started as a custodian and worked my tail all the way up to be on the superintendent's cabinet. I started the first race relations program in the state of California, in Richmond. And I can't understand that a school that I attended in 1943 didn't get remodeled like all the other schools. What's up with that? I mean, I'm 87 years old, and I've gone through every possible situation you can go through in institutional racism that you can have. I'm real about that. I've never spoke this way in my entire life. Now, it's going to come a time when we have to come to a conclusion on how you're going to fix this problem. These people are screaming for help. And the only way you can fix the problem, we know what the problems are. There are 4 additional problems that takes place in school districts. I got 32 seconds, and I'm going to give you the 4. 1 is politics. 2 is money. 3 is race. And 4 is religion. Now, any way you can come to a conclusion to fix it, fix it. Because we're not going to play this game anymore. I'm coming back. Thank you.
Next public comment is Mia Brown.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nia Brown. My son graduated last year from El Cerrito, a varsity football team member. So I find it hard to believe that Mr. Norrington has nothing to do with what's going on with the football team, being that his actions started last year, one being with my son. He accused my son of a false allegation, which suspended him prior to having the proper evidence, which caused him to miss out on the playoff game and the championship game, something that he can never get back, which recruiters were going to be at that game looking to see him play. He has moved past that. All this took place during a pivotal moment of his life where he had lost his father. Mr. Norrington did not offer any type of emotional support, no type of assistance, but that support came from Coach Jake and the coaching staff. Coach Jake has changed the lives of many young men, allowing them to be recruited and sent off to college on full ride scholarships. Mr. Norrington has placed many intimidating tactics among these children, alleging his police history and also about him being in Boys in the Hood. Well, we are not raising our boys to be boys from the hood. We are raising them to get out of the hood. Since Mr. Norrington has come there, he has tried to do anything to stop that. And I disagree with the superintendent. That suspension that my son had was overturned because he did not properly investigate, and he falsely accused my child. I do agree with the other parents. Y'all need to get Mr. Norrington out of there. He is not there for the children. It is not about the color of his skin. It's about his best interest for those children. And he has come there and has not had that. He came from the Tri-Valley District where they did not want him. So now he's over here in Contra Costa County trying to mess up what we families have been years in raising our children to do better. So he's trying to come and take that away. I think it's unacceptable, and he needs to be investigated. While you guys are investigating Coach Jake, investigate Coach Norrington. Principal Norrington.
Our next public comment is Johanna Gordian.
Everyone, this will be the last public comment at 2 minutes. We are at the hour mark. Every other public comment for 30 minutes will be 1 minute long. Thank you.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Hurst. It's great to see you again. My name is Joanna Gurdian, and I'm here representing Healthy Contra Costa. Like Anthony mentioned earlier, we engaged Dr. Hurst in a conversation around STEEGE. I'm here tonight thanking Dr. Hurst for committing to improving the conditions for the children of STEEGE. Thank you for committing to looking for other funding sources for a full rebuild of STEEGE. Please continue to partner with the community to assist you in advocating for funds for STEEGE. Thank you for committing to establish a rebuild committee made up of community members and district staff similar to the Richmond High model. I was also glad to hear your commitment to coming back and having an honest conversation about why STEEGE students weren't placed at a more appropriate site and what made you all decide to put the children here at Dijon. Thank you for committing to having a more transparent, thank you for committing to having more transparent and honest conversations with community members, STEEGE families, and for continuing to make messaging around lead and asbestos exposure more clear. This is not to create a panic, but to ensure that these children receive the testing and resources that they need. Thank you.
Our next public comment is Lucina Akina. No. Next public comment is James Jordan.
Good evening, school board. My name is James Jordan, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the reconstruction of Stige Elementary School on behalf of the members of St. Peter's CME Church, which is located down the street from Stige. I grew up in the neighborhood, and I've seen firsthand how this neighborhood has been positively impacted by strong community action and intergenerational connection. Many of our church members, including myself, have attended Stige over the generations. Our children deserve a safe, modern learning environment to prepare them for the future. Investing in the reconstruction of this school will not only improve educational outcomes, but also restore trust with the community and enhance the overall quality of life in Richmond for future generations. I thank you for your support and look forward to seeing us proceed with the new dedication of
Our next public comment is J.C. Farr. J.C. Farr. And our last public comment is Kelly Gilmore.
Good evening. Mr. Norrington is a Black man who isn't representing El Cerrito properly. I want to say that I had a meeting with him on Monday with my son, and he accused my son of being suicidal. My son is never suicidal. My son have a 3.8 GPA, and he plays football, and he's trying to take him away from football, an outlet that these Black kids, brown kids need, and y'all pushing him to the streets and to gun violence. Like, what is that? Like, y'all don't have no answer. And then it's getting personal because he's labeling my kid as suicidal. He's never even given me a phone call. He's never given me information that he was suicidal. Nothing, no meeting. He wouldn't even tell me who said that brought.
That concludes public comment. Thank you so much, everyone, for your public comment. We are now moving to agenda item B9, agenda review and adoption. Board, do we have any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, so go ahead, Mr. Phillips.
Never mind.
Okay, seeing no changes to the agenda, board, the agenda is adopted without objection. We are now moving to item C, consent items. Board, is there anything that anyone wants to pull? Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
Thank you. C6 Solstice Residential Treatment Center and C7 Chamberlain Family Foundation.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips, go ahead.
C3?
All of it?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Anything else? Seeing none, the consent calendar is adopted with C3 pulled and C6 with the two items that Trustee Reckler has stated. We are now moving on to D, which is the superintendent's communication. Dr. Hurst, this is your item.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Can we bring up the superintendent presentation, please?
We go to the next slide. We wanted to bring some things back. Last meeting was a little longer and we didn't get to cover every single item in the superintendent report. And we realized that this day has passed, but we wanted to make sure that we recognize our maintenance workers, our groundskeepers, and our custodians. And we just wanted to say thank you so much for all that you do to care for all of our facilities and our grounds and our buildings. Thank you so much. We do appreciate you, and we wanted to take the time to recognize you. Next slide. Also, we know that this has passed as well, and this was on the last superintendent's report. But we wanted to share our appreciation for all of our administrators across the district. We know you have a tough job, and we wanted to just share with you, we appreciate your leadership as well. We know that it's been said again and again from our board trustees to myself that leadership does matter. And we just wanted to lift you up and recognize you. Thank you for all you do. Next slide. This was also on the last superintendent report. We did not get a chance to bring this forward, but we wanted to lift up and honor De Anza and De Anza Law Academy especially. They were awarded the Trailblazer Award by California Lawyers Foundation, California Legal Pathways Collaborative, for being one of 6 of the original academies started by this organization. Congratulations. Next slide. And then this was on the last superintendent report as well. This date has not passed. It's this coming weekend. It's the Parents as Partners and Leaders Conference. We have talked about this before, and we do just want to lift this up to everyone, making sure that you are aware. I will pause. We only have 2 board members present. And I will continue. Thank you so much. We also wanted to remind everyone we will have a second candidate forum. That will be here at Dijon, and it will be from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Wednesday, October the 30th. Again, our second candidate forum will be here at Dijon, Wednesday, October the 30th, from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Next slide. And then also, we wanted to make you aware of an upcoming job fair. We have a job fair that's going to be Saturday, November the 2nd, and that's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., and that will also be here at Dijon Middle School. Next slide. Also, we know that Halloween is coming up, and we have some tips we wanted to share with you, just some safety tips. First one is be alert. Watch for trick-or-treaters in school zones when driving on Halloween. Slow down and scan the road as you drive. And then we have the candy rule as well. Keep your Halloween candy at home. Enjoy your treats with family. And remember that candy shouldn't be brought to school. And then the costume check. Enjoy your costume, making sure that it's school appropriate and that it's safe. Avoid masks that block the vision and leave toy weapons at home. And then drive carefully. Watch for trick-or-treaters in school zones and around neighborhoods. Slow down, stay alert, scan the road for children crossing as you drive. Thank you so much and enjoy your Halloween. Next slide. Then, of course, we wanted to always remind you of our parent advisory committees. Again, we have our APAC, and we're asking that you check with your school sites for the dates and times. Those do vary. We have ASAT as well. That's going to be December the 3rd, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Our CAC, November the 7th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Our DLI pack, that is to be determined. Our DL cap, November the 12th, 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And then our MDAC, November 21st, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Next slide. And then the last two are CBOC. That was passed, that's coming up October the 28th, 6:15 to 8:15 p.m. And our 7-Eleven committee is to be determined. Thank you so much. That concludes the superintendent report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hurst. Board, are there any questions? Okay, we'll do 3 questions. Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Hurst, would you be able to ensure that I'm on the distribution list for all of those meetings? I definitely get some, but I don't believe I get ASAT, CAC, or MDAC. I definitely get CPOC, DL caps, 7-Eleven, and DLI. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Myself, Genesis, and Rochelle will work on that.
Dr. Hurst, I'm sorry, go ahead, Trustee Christian, you go first.
Yes, I would say the same thing, and because I don't get a lot of this information as well, so include me on making sure I get everything as well. Thank you.
We'll make it sure to include all board members.
Dr. Hurst, I had a question about our elementary school teacher conferences are coming up. Is it possible for maybe Ms. Sigler or Ms. Catherine to just give us a couple of pointers about what parents should do when they go to those conferences? Also, CBO Moses, who was formerly a principal, if you, and also you, Dr. Hurst, or any other cabinet member, if you have a couple of pointers to give parents and guardians who are getting ready to do those week-long conferences in November, I would love to hear from that.
Your timing is actually excellent. Through our community schools,
And we've actually presented this to all schools, but it is a requirement of community schools. We are working towards transitioning to actually parent-led conferences. And what that really means is a framework where teachers still host their conference, but we're really encouraging parents to be active participants in the goal setting. And so the advice that I would give the parents is to really push to leave with a clear goal for their student and to ask how they can support that goal at home and what they should expect for their child in the classroom around that goal. And if any parents are listening and want to give us feedback on their experience, our office would be all ears.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure. Thank you for the question. As a former principal and a current parent, I think I'd just add that the parent-teacher conference is an opportunity, especially for our youngest learners, for parents and teachers to really connect and also to together decide on ways in which they're going to support the student together. For example, how do parents want to receive their communication? What if a parent is expecting well, they need to state their expectations so that the teacher can work to meet them. I'd also say that parent-teacher conference time is an opportunity for parents to ask questions about the academic plan for the year. If a parent leaves the conference understanding what their child is going to be held accountable to, what the academic rigor will be, and also what the methods of communication are, I think that will be the foundation for a great year for the parents and the teachers.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any other cabinet members? Dr. Hurst, any suggestions?
No, ma'am, I do not have any other suggestions than what was shared.
Can I ask cabinet a question via Dr. Hurst? Do you believe that it is appropriate and necessary for parents to ask specific questions around what's my child's reading level? What's my child's math level? Is my child kind in class? Is my child able to advocate for themselves? Can they speak up if something's wrong? Are these appropriate questions that parents and guardians should be asking at those parent or parent-led or teacher-parent conferences?
Sure. I'll answer. So absolutely, this is a time for the parent and the teacher to really connect and for the parent to understand what's happening during the school day and also for the parent to understand how they can support at home in order to provide a collaborative, supportive experience for the student. Those are exactly the questions parents should ask. And I believe that those are the questions also that teachers will be prepared to answer.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Director Fleischman?
Thank you, Board President. Actually, having come from my own students' teacher conference this afternoon, I don't know if I heard mentioned tonight. I've heard a lot of like, what do we ask the teacher? But also, this is a two-way conversation, and it's an opportunity for the parent to tell the teacher about their child. The parent is the first teacher of that child, the first educator, and they know that child far better than anybody else. And that teacher has known the child most likely for about a month and a half now. So it's absolutely invaluable for the parent to also contribute and add to the conversation to help the teacher with best ways to meet the needs of that child.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone, for your invaluable advice. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Board, seeing no more questions, we are now moving on from the superintendent report. We are now going to our action items. This is agenda items E. Before we start, I am pulling item E1. We need further information and then it'll come back to the board. Thank you so much. Now we are on item E2, Williams lawsuit complaint, quarterly report. Teacher Payne, this is your item, ma'am.
Hello, good evening. Tonight, we're bringing forward the Williams lawsuit complaint quarterly report to the board. What the report identifies is it identifies all of the Williams complaints that we have received from the period of July 1st through September 30th. As you can see, the complaints are listed here by category. So there are essentially 3 categories. We have 4 teacher vacancy or misassignment complaints. At this time, they are all unresolved, and we do have an update that I'll pass it on in just one second. For facilities conditions, we have 7 complaints, and part of the reason why they are listed as unresolved, I want to be really transparent about that. Part of the requirements is you receive the complaint and you have 30 working days to resolve the complaint, and you have 45 working days to provide the response to the complaint. And so we have listed them here as unresolved because the response to the complaint has not been issued. And until that is done, we have left it in the unresolved column. It doesn't mean that we haven't taken action to resolve the complaint. It just means that it's not completely closed out, and that's how we are bringing that forward and presenting it to the board. We are actively working on all of them. And I will also share that this is a major point of emphasis for our entire group. We've created a log, and we're really committed to providing complete responses, which includes partnership with site leadership, partnership across the cabinet, to really understand the complaint and to make sure that our response and resolution to the complaint is a complete response. And we believe by partnering together to do that, we will be providing good responses to all of these items. So they are all in action and we're working on all of them. And I will pass it over because we do have an update, but I just wanted to be clear about how we have them categorized here tonight.
Thank you. I'm going to be providing an update shared by Dr. Johnson. We're happy to report that of the 4 reported, 2 of them have been filled. We've got teachers that have been hired and are being placed. 2, however, 1 full-time FTE and 1.6 in mathematics has not yet been filled. The positions have been posted and Human Resources is working urgently to resolve it, but we do have substitutes in place in both of those classrooms.
Thank you both very much. Staff, do we have any public comment on this item?
Yes, we have one. Delon Jackson, please unmute yourself. It's 1 minute. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I have nothing to say.
Okay, thank you. Anita Summerlin, please unmute yourself.
Hi, Ward. I just want to reference really quickly there is the concern about the filling of the math teachers at one of the middle schools. I mean, of course, everyone who knows what the report is, it isn't a report. We would really like to get anything that we as a community can do to help get that position filled. We really, really need to get that position filled. Our students cannot go an entire year without a math teacher in 8th grade. So we really highly concerned about that position and would really like to see some effort put out. We really don't believe this came up in our parent APAC meeting. And basically it was in the African-American students in these classes are underperforming drastically already. And this is 8th grade. They're going to go into 9th grade not prepared. So we need to put some urgency on filling that position immediately. Thank you.
Thank you so much, staff, for the public comment, or I'm sorry, thank you, public, for the public comment. Staff, thank you for calling on people. Board, do we have any questions? I'm going to go from my left to my right. Mr. Phillips, go ahead. We're going to do 3 questions, please, 2-minute comments.
Ms. Payne, what is a Williams complaint?
So a Williams complaint is It doesn't have to be written. It can also be communicated to a site leader. And it's a concern related to one of the three items: textbook sufficiency, teacher vacancy, or facility conditions. And for facility conditions, to give that a little bit more definition, I would say that for facilities conditions, there's a standard of good repair, clean and safe facilities. There's also a very large emphasis in Williams complaints associated with restrooms, that they're available, that they're stocked, essentially how they were designed and constructed. And so Williams complaints can come forward in a written form or in a verbal form. They typically start with site leadership, and then they're shared with the departments that oversee those areas, so that we can provide a quick response and a complete or a quick response to the item, and then a complete written resolution to the next steps that were taken. The reason why we're bringing this to the board tonight is for all Williams complaints too. We work in partnership with the county and do these quarterly reports and work closely with them on the complaints that are received and what those resolutions look like.
Are there pending or active Williams complaints regarding Stige?
Not in this quarterly report represented here. And so, since I've stepped into this role, there is not one that I have received at this time.
If members of the community who care about the facilities at Stige wanted to file a formal Williams complaint to rectify the facilities situation at Stige, could you please explain for all of them who may be in the audience or listening over Zoom exactly how they do that?
Absolutely. So what I don't have with full specificity tonight is all of the places where that form is located, but there's a couple of different ways that they could do that. One, they could share that with site leadership. So it doesn't have to be written. It can just be described to site leadership, and then they can complete the form. There's a form that identifies the three areas that has identified checkboxes that align with Williams. And so
Just to be clear, if they wanted to do a written complaint, so it's actually documented, can you explain how they would do that?
So the form would be available at the site. The form can also be made available. We're happy to share it. I do believe that it's on the website, but I want to independently verify that. I can provide a full update in a board memo. But the form is available. For the three different areas, there are check boxes where you can provide specificity. I would say, as someone who's trying, well, as a team that's trying to provide complete responses, the more detail in any type of request, a Williams complaint request, or even just a work order, the more specificity about the location and the issue really helps to ensure that we can resolve that specific concern. Once that form is completed at the site and provided to site leadership, they have a copy, and then they will share it with our office, and then we'll work together to provide that response. And then that would come forward to this board in the next update. And so all of that data would come forward here to the board as well as to the county.
May I ask one more question?
Hold on, let me go back around and make sure everybody else gets 3 in, and then if we have time, yes, trustee Phillips, not guaranteeing, but maybe. Trustee Christian, you had questions?
Yes. The question is, how many complaints actually came in?
So there's a total of 11 complaints in the tally that's presented tonight. But the reason why it's reflected that way is because we count a complaint within each area. So to be more specific, there could be one form that could count as 3 complaints. So if one Williams complaint form is completed and a box is checked in each category, there are 3, then that would count as 3 complaints. If a form was submitted with 2 separate areas on it, it would count as 2. So what we've identified here is a total of 11, but it's not 11 individual complaints. It's a total of 11 by category.
Okay, and what schools?
So the schools off the top of my head are Pinole Valley High School, Hercules, Highland, and Grant.
Okay. That's it.
Thank you so much. Trustee Reckler, you had 3 questions?
Yeah, actually, I think I could ask 4 if I was allowed to do that. But first is, so I see the HVAC at Pinole Valley High School is again being brought up. What are the, what happened in, I believe there was work done to shore that system up, and then what do we think caused this one to come forward?
So there's definitely been a lot of work since August, and it's essentially, I would say, threefold. So the system at Pinole Valley High School, it has central controls. And so what that means is centrally, we have data where we can look at the temperatures in the spaces, and we can also run trend logs to understand and to keep an eye on the temperature in the classrooms. One of the things that we know to be true is when we receive a complaint, we're receiving it from people that are experiencing that condition. And so kind of the initial response to seeing the complaint was, well, let's look at the data. What does the data tell us is the temperature in the space? What does the trend log tell us about the outside temperature versus the inside temperature? We've had some extremely hot days. What our initial look at the data told us was it said that the indoor temperature was significantly less than the outdoor temperature. And so initial conclusion, the system's working as operated. But we had an actual complaint. And so the teams, our HVA team specifically did go out to the site to look at some of those specific areas. We did engage with 2 contractors, one that specializes in the controls to make sure that the data that was coming in the system was validated, and 2, working with the contractor to do some repairs to the air handling units. One of the other things that we've done to try to create a more stabilized system at Pinole is the way that that system was designed. There's essentially 1 unit for 4 spaces. And so historically, you could adjust the thermometer and to your particular space. One of the things that we've done as a solution, and we're trying to see if this helps the system to perform better, is to take that control centrally. So it can't just be controlled in the classroom, but if we have a set point for those 4 spaces, then the intended hope is that the system would work better. So with air conditioning systems, HVAC systems, if you set the set point too low, you can burn out the system or the system can freeze. So I've learned a lot. It's about trying to find the balance. And that's hard because every day the temperature is different outside. The system is not perfect. There are additional repairs that we have planned to do out at Pinole. But there have been a significant number of steps taken. There's another Williams complaint that's about HVAC in the room as well. And kind of like a doctor, if you go to the doctor and you say, here are some of the conditions I'm having, there's a series of tests that you do to try to figure out, how do I help this space function better? How do I get the system to work right? So there's another HVAC Williams complaint that's before you tonight that's at Hercules. And we're tracking in the work order history how we ended up doing 4 different things to try to get the system to perform the way that it was. I say that to say sometimes the first thing that we do to try to repair or resolve an issue isn't the final solution. And we have to continue to work against the problem to have a solution that's complete. And so I hope that answers your question and provides a little bit more detail to our intention and our responses to these complaints about being complete and whole, and not just saying we received a complaint, we went out and we did this, it's all done. We're really trying to continue to diagnose the problem so that we can have the system perform and function the way that it was designed and constructed. But it takes time, and the first solution isn't always the final solution.
Okay, thank you. And then flipping over to Highland. So how do, and I'm addressing once again the facilities issues, how do they know that they have high CO2 levels, lead in the water? I mean, exposed wire, sure, you could see that, but the other two, how do they know that?
So for CO2, one of the things that we did over the summer through the CalShape grant that I think delivered almost $3 million, I think it's right around $3 million to the districts and grant funds through CalShape. We've installed CO2 sensors in a number of our classrooms through the grant program. And what a CO2 sensor tells you is it's saying that you need to increase outside air. So CO2 naturally produced, right? And when you have an occupied space, CO2 is going to go up. So we now have CO2 monitors at a number of different sites throughout the district. One of the things that we did at the beginning of the school year was we put out in our manager's bulletin information about the CO2 sensor and what it's really telling you. So what the CO2 sensor is saying when it creates an alert is it's saying bring in outside air. And outside air could come from outside, a window. It could also just come from the hallway, because if you bring in another source of air, it's going to decrease the level of CO2. So what our CO2 sensors are doing is it's identifying an existing condition and saying, here's how you can improve that condition. So we have CO2 sensors at a number of our sites. I think one of the areas where we're looking to really partner with our site leaders is to help make sure that as we implement and deploy additional systems into our spaces, building systems, that along with the deployment of the device, we're providing the education and the information about what it is that it's telling you to do. And so that's definitely, you can see it's raised concern. If you're in a classroom and the CO2 sensor says there's high CO2, that's going to raise a concern. But what it's really telling us is just to bring in outside air. I can't speak to the question about lead in the water. What I can tell you is that the district did do water testing at the sites in accordance with the legislation. I have found those reports on our district website, and recently engaged with an expert in water quality to make sure that we've dotted every I and crossed every T. But I can't speak to how or why they've listed that on the form.
Okay. Thank you. And then finally, so for the Student Accountability Report Card, the SARC, there's a facilities inspection using the FIT tool, right? I guess. And those investigations happen during the summer, right? When there aren't students around. So this is probably more of a comment than a question, but it's probably a question is, do you think we'd get better results and be able to have fewer Williams reports if those inspections occur live time when the building is filled with students? I think that you would see the building in operation and you might just, during the summer, nothing's going on. You don't know if the toilet's clogged. You don't know if, but when the building is alive with students, you might be able to diagnose issues. I don't know. It's a half question, half comment.
Yeah, so there's definitely the pros and cons associated. So for the facility inspections that were done at all of our sites this year, they actually were done at the beginning of the school year. So this year we did have a consultant perform those at all of the sites. And so this year that is the case. It is my understanding that in years past, it has happened in the summer. I would say the perceived benefit of doing the inspections in the summer is then if you have a known deficiency, there's a lot of work that we can do when the site isn't occupied. And when the site is occupied, there's a lot of work that we can do, but there's some work that we don't want to disrupt normal school operations. And so we're looking for a long weekend, or we're looking for another opportunity to go in and do the repair. A good example would be maybe like a flooring repair. So if we need to go in and do that well and do that complete, it's going to be really hard to do that during the school day. So the benefit of doing a fit in the summer is then we have an opportunity to kind of isolate and identify those things that we can repair before school starts. But then you miss out on the opportunity to see how it's functioning when it's occupied 100%. Vice versa, when you do the inspections at the beginning of the school year and you have an occupied site, you may have to prioritize those repairs, and now you really have to take into consideration how that could potentially affect school operations and how you're going to get that work done quickly. The other thing I would say about facilities in general is it's so seasonal. So we worry about the hot days, and then I worry about the rain, and then I worry about the trees when it's windy. And so there are different types of heightened concerns throughout the year. And there's really this cyclical effect, or excuse me, there's this seasonal effect to supporting our facilities through all of those changes, right? We have fire season mitigation, we have it's going to be wet out, and so there's constantly something that we're chasing. But you can't chase all of it ahead, because a lot of it you're going to find out on a hot day, right? We're going to find out here quickly if we have a heater that's not functioning, right? And so that's why the work orders are so important. One of the things that we do is prioritize the work orders. And one of the things I'll share for anybody listening, and forgive me, my examples aren't great. But if you're a Kaiser member and you call to talk to an advice nurse, they'll say, if this is an emergency, please hang up the phone and dial 911. And so work orders are very similar. If there is an urgent issue on the site, we want you to pick up the phone and call us so that we can address that issue immediately. But there are other things that are a concern that when they come through the work order system, we're able to then prioritize that and look at that, so that we can figure out how quickly we can go out and do those things. And so we definitely see spikes as the seasons change for different kinds of concerns. The other thing that I'll add, just because I think it's important for you to know, is the fit inspection isn't the only facilities inspection that we do throughout the year. There's a number of inspections that we do. In fact, we're getting ready to start our property inspections. And so all of our sites, school sites and others, are getting ready to go through another inspection. And so all throughout the year, we're receiving a lot of data about how to keep our sites clean and safe, not just from our own eyes and the eyes of the occupants that we have at all of our sites, but also from third-party experts that are coming in with different lenses and looking at our sites and how we can really keep them safe. So I talk too much. You could totally cut
That's
me
okay.
off.
Thank you so very much, Teacher Payne. I appreciate it. Board, we are going to try, Trustee Phillips, I did know that you wanted another question, but I know that you can turn that question into a comment because I've seen you do it before. So flip that question into a comment. Everybody listen so we can make sure that we address his comment/question inside comment area. Board, we have, same thing, Trustee Reckler, switch that into a comment. Board, we're going we need to have a motion. Is there a motion to accept the Williams lawsuit complaints quarterly report? I move that we accept the Williams lawsuit complaints quarterly report. Is there a second?
Reckler will second.
Thank you. Now we're going to 2-minute comments. I'm going to go to you two last, let's give you a chance to turn that question into a comment. Student trustees, do you have any comments? Seeing none, I'll move straight to trustee Christian. Trustee Christian, go ahead with your comment if you have one.
Yes, the comment, basically is, sending around the Williams report. And I know we sign off on so many reports from the past. And here we are, with the Williams report again. So, I just don't want to just be signing off and thinking things that are okay. That's how we, with the situation with Steve, we signing off, but there was major issues, major problems, major this, and for the whole facility. And I just don't want to sign off, just be signing off, so that's, where I'm feeling, I just don't want, because I want to know is stuff being done correctly and being repaired or whatever needs to happen. That's it.
Thank you so much, trustee Christian. I'll go to trustee Reckler and then trustee Phillips. Trustee Reckler, wait for the clock, please, and go ahead.
You don't even have to turn it on. It'll be very brief. So maybe in the board memo, you can address kindergarten bathrooms and TK bathrooms, because here on Highland, they say that kindergarten has to have a separate bathroom, so I don't know if they're sharing. And then with TK, I've heard and seen, we're doing TK, but the state gave us an unfunded mandate, which they're supposed to have bathrooms. So if I can understand what the law is and how California state is expecting districts to comply with it with no money to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Phillips, wait for the clock and then go ahead, please.
Thank you. I want to go back to the Steege issue for a moment. If I had the opportunity to ask another question about Steege, it would have been this. If there is a community member who has a video or like a documentary about all of the problems that are at Steege, if that community member was to fill out the written formal complaint and give that document along with that video to the superintendent, would the district be legally required to address the issues at Steege, assuming those issues were legitimate? That's the question that I wanted to ask. I believe the answer is yes. And if the answer is no, I would really appreciate it, Ms. Payne or Dr. Hurst, if you just said, Mr. Phillips, you're wrong, the answer is no.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. If you could put 2 minutes.
I'm not.
Oh, you still had I'm sorry, did he have, you had 47 seconds left, maybe?
I had like 2 minutes left.
We started with 2 minutes. You can't have 2 minutes left. We're gonna go with 47 seconds. That's what I thought I saw in the corner of my eye. Let's take it down to 47 seconds. Hold on, Mr. Phillips, 1 second. Let me get it down to 47. That's fine. All right. Oh, we had it. Oh.
So as an attorney, I think it's very important that people make written formal complaints. When I was in private practice and people asked me things, I'd always tell them to make written formal complaints, like the process that Ms. Payne just outlined. Because when you do that, you have rights that are triggered and people have to respond to you. And so I would encourage anyone who has an issue about Steege to actually follow the outline that Ms. Payne just described, because you have rights that people have to respect when you follow the process. Thank you, Ms. Payne.
Thank you so very much. Did I get everyone? Yes, okay. Teacher Payne, I would like to say that that was the most thorough explanation of the Williams Quarterly Report ever, and it is a feather in your cap. I've learned more about Williams Quarterly Reports in this session than I've had over the last year, so I really appreciate that. Dr. Hurst, to your credit, and I want Cabinet to hear this, you have some of the most passionate people on Cabinet about their particular subject. So I really learn when each one speaks, I learn a lot about that subject. So that's a feather in all of your caps, because that's what you're supposed to do, is to come educate the board, and you are the experts in the room. So thank you for that. Teacher Payne, what I'm understanding is what you're asking for us is just the vote yes on receiving the complaints and understanding the explanation behind them. Is that accurate? Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't supposed to ask the question. That's accurate. So that's my comment. Okay. So thank you very much. So board, what I will be doing in my vote, and we all know how I typically vote on Williams' complaint, but because of the excellent presentation and what I understand now to be true, I will be voting yes on the Williams complaint quarter report receival. Thank you very much. We are now headed to the vote. Okay, here we go. Student trustee Wilson, what is your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Student trustee Espinoza Jr., what is your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Christian, what is your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler, what is your vote, ma'am?
Reckler, yes.
Thank you, and I'm a yes. That passes. Thank you very much. We are now moving to E3, recommended approval of employment agreement for the intern superintendent. I have a script that I need to read, so I am going to read this verbatim. We are calling item E3, the discussion approval of employment agreement with interim superintendent. This item is to approve an employment contract for the district's interim superintendent, Dr. Kim Moses. As required by law, I will make an oral summary of the compensation proposed to be provided to Dr. Moses under this agreement. The term of the I'm starting now. The term of the contract is from December the 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. Interim superintendent will return to her associated superintendent position after the term of the agreement. The base salary provided for is $315,895 per year. If the interim superintendent fills in for the superintendent prior to December 1st, 2024, she will receive additional compensation. Interim superintendent will receive a district-provided life insurance policy. Interim superintendent will receive 1 day of sick leave for each full month of service rendered. Interim superintendent will accrue 2 days of vacation for each month of service rendered and can accrue up to 24 days of vacation in a year. Interim superintendent will receive health insurance coverage with the premium cost paid for by the district under the district's health, vision, and dental insurance plans, consistent with that offered to the certificated management employees. The district will pay interim superintendent's dues for ACSA, Association of California School Administrators, AASA, American Association of School Administrators, and CAAASA, California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators. Interim superintendent will receive mileage reimbursement consistent with board policy. The board will hire a coach to mentor and support the superintendent. This concludes the oral disclosure of the compensation proposed under this agreement. I will now turn to public comment, followed by any board discussion. Staff, do we have public comment?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. Board, any discussion? Seeing none, we are now moving to a motion. Do I have a motion? Trustee Reckler, is that your hand for a motion?
Yes, I want to move the contract, but I want to change on page 5. At the bottom of page 5, under 9, evaluation, it says that performance goals will be mutually agreed upon and jointly developed no later than January 30th. And then I think that turning around and then less than a month later, getting a mid-year verbal is like almost impossible. So what I would like to do is to change that date and to have the sentence say, the board shall hold a mid-year verbal evaluation meeting with the interim superintendent by mutual agreement no later than April 1, 2025, which adds a little bit more time to, you know, re- record something, because I just think a month is not realistic.
Sorry, is there a second to trustee Reckler's motion?
Second.
Thank you. We are now moving to, we have a motion properly second. Any comments, board? Seeing no comments, we are now moving to the vote. We are voting on the contract for our interim superintendent with the changes that trustee Reckler has notated. Student trustee Wilson, your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Student trustee Espinoza Jr., your vote, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Christian, your vote, sir?
Yes.
Trustee Reckler, your vote, ma'am?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Congratulations, Dr. Moses. Thank you very much. We are now, oh, look at that. We are at discussion. Oh, no, I forgot we had consent items. Sorry, I thought we were finished. All right, let's go to our pulled consent items. Let's start with consent item C3, evaluation of contract vendors. Mr. Phillips, you pulled this item, please.
Reports. These reports are at least partly self-reports. And I don't really want to approve, and I don't think the board should be approving that kind of report. I think it's okay for the board to accept it, as in the sense that we received it and we're acknowledging that we received it. Very much like we might do an audit, right? But I don't think that the board should be approving these reports. So my request is not that it's held up, but that the motion is actually that we accept instead of approve.
Trustee Phillips, can you give me a little bit more reason why you would like to switch the language from accept to approve?
The language means two different things. And I think what we are actually doing is accepting the report.
Instead of approving the report that was given to us. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Dr. Moses and Dr. Hurst, with the switch of the language, does it change anything?
No, it does not. We provide these reports so that the board can be informed as to how our vendors are evaluated, since we bring them back to the board for reapproval. So our intention is just to make sure you have the information.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Trustee Phillips, would you like to make that motion with your change?
Sure. I move that we accept the reports in item 3, evaluation of contract vendors.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Do we have any comment, board, from that? Seeing none, we'll go straight to the vote. Trustee Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Espinoza Jr.?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Phillips?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Christian?
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Reckler?
Reckler, yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you very much. We are now moving to item C6. We are under contracts. Before we move on, Trustee Phillips, you're wanting this to be kind of a consistent thing. So if this is brought back again, you would like to have it kind of a permanent change to say accepted instead of approved? I just want to make sure.
Well, honestly, the next time it's brought back, I may not be around.
But if you are, sir,
I do advise that the board accepts these versus approves them.
okay, thank you. We are now going to trustee Reckler. What you pulled off of, the consent item was C6. Go ahead and speak to those items that you pulled, please.
Thank you. It'll be very brief. So it's for Solstice Residential Treatment Center, and I sent in a note, but I didn't get an answer back. Did the board approve that stipulation?
Thank you, trustee Reckler. Did the board approve what stipulation?
For Solstice Residential Treatment Center?
That was an IEP placement, by the team, so it doesn't come to the board for direct approval.
It doesn't?
It does not.
Oh. Okay. I'm done on that item then.
Trustee Reckler, didn't you pull
I'll
something
go
else?
ahead and move it.
Okay, we're gonna move that item. Okay, is there a second to move that item? I'm sorry, before we do that, we have Dr. Moses that has a comment. Go ahead, Dr. Moses.
Just a point of order. The Solstice Residential Treatment Center does need to be approved, but it is on the ratification consent, which is C5, not C6. And yes, I think that's all I have to add. So the Solstice Residential Treatment Contract is on C5 for ratification. Since services had already begun, we're asking for that to be ratified because of the need to place a student in that specialized treatment facility.
Director thank you, Dr. Moses. Director Fleischman, anything?
Point of clarification. I think I misunderstood the question. The board doesn't approve the placement of a student when it's an IEP placement. The board does approve the expenditure, as Dr. Moses said, through contracts.
But to be clear, this was not one of those agreements that came. No.
That is correct. This is not one that we brought to the board as an agreement for approval.
And what I heard from Dr. Moses is because it was placed under C5, we've already approved it because we approved the consent item with C5, not.
Yeah,
with
I did mess that up. I circled
Okay.
6, but wrote down Solstice, so I just.
But
made
you
it-
got your questions answered, so you're
Yeah.
good, right? Okay, so we don't have to vote on that one because we already voted on it under consent. It was just the language was misspoken. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes, kind of, sort of? Okay. But trustee Reckler, you did have another one?
I did. So from C7, I pulled from grants, awards, and agreements, Chamber and Family Foundation. And I'd like to speak to that. So first, I'd like to thank Dr. Hurst for getting this award. I'd like to thank Chamberlain for supplying the money. This has nothing to do with the employee, but I'm uncomfortable accepting year one of a 3-year grant on a person in cabinet when there is going to be a new permanent superintendent. And I feel strongly that the occupant of the office needs to be able to pick their cabinet people. And so my recommendation is that this gets tabled and is saved for the next occupant of the office. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Sorry, that was a little loud. All right, do we have, you're moving that's the motion on the floor. Trustee Reckler, is that you would like to table this item?
Yes.
I see you, trustee Phillips. Go ahead.
Can we just roll back just a little bit? I missed some of what trustee Reckler was saying, and it got real serious, and then it was over. So if she can just repeat that, I don't know that I'm seconding anything, but I want to hear her say this again, if she does not mind.
Trustee Reckler, can you repeat why you pulled it and why you want it tabled, please?
Sure. So there is a grant from the Chamberlain Education Foundation. It's $300,000. My understanding is that it's for 3 years, 2025 to 2028. It's paying for one FTE associate superintendent. My understanding is that it's tied to a particular person. And while I'm grateful for the money and I'm grateful for for Chamberlain, and I'm grateful that Dr. Hurst set this up and it has absolutely nothing to do with the employee, I feel that the next occupant of the superintendent's office has the right and responsibility to pick their cabinet members. And so we already have two people under contract. We have an interim superintendent who's going to revert back to a chief business officer. And then we have a human resources person who's under contract. And they're tied in with severance payments, and it could cost the district quite a bit of money if it doesn't work out.
I'm sorry, did that offer you any clarity?
It did, but can we have questions before anybody makes a motion to table? Because that would affect, I'm sure it will affect what I do or don't do.
When we go to consent items, do we have questions in consent items? Up to me. Okay. Let me see if we get a second on your tabling. And let's see what, trustee Reckler, state your motion, please. Hold on one second, trustee Phillips, because I think she's gonna get a second. Go ahead, trustee Reckler. State your motion.
My motion is to table the item.
Thank you. Is there a second to table the item? I will second to table the item. Now we can have a question, trustee Phillips, because we have a motion and properly second. Go ahead if you want to have some discussion in that.
Technically, once there's a motion to table, you're not actually supposed to have any discussion. You're supposed to go straight to the motion, which is why I hope that trustee Reckler would withdraw her motion. We literally are not supposed to talk now. We're just supposed to vote.
Okay. Do you want to withdraw your motion, trustee Reckler, so we can have a discussion about tabling before you submit your motion to table?
I will withdraw the motion.
I withdraw my second. Trustee Phillips, what would you like to discuss about this motion to table? Or what questions would you like to ask?
The grant money that we are discussing, is it true that the grant money is literally tied to a specific person?
That is not true. So I actually, in the process, I actually had that conversation about who I was recommending, and that person was Catherine Acosta Proskas. But the money in no way is tied to a specific person. It was really from Chamberlain to use as we please. And we're opting to use it this way to support teaching and learning. And just a little background. Since I've been here, I have seen this position struggle, the CAO position, and not do instruction or operations well under both of our CAOs, whether it was Larisha or Miss Neely Johnson. I engaged in the conversations with Chamberlain about an opportunity to reorg, to really split the position. And the funds were given for the reorganization. It was not for a specific person. But I presented to the board that name that I just shared with you. So it was not intended for a specific person. And there was never a point where they were directing a specific person as well.
So when we have a new superintendent, if that person, and it is awkward talking about, I hate when people talk about me like I'm not there. So I want to apologize for that. I've said that in here, like, why are you talking like I'm not here? So I apologize for that. And I have no reason to think or believe what I'm about to say would even happen. But when there is a new superintendent, if that person said, I want X, right? Meaning this other person, this whoever, right? And pick somebody else within the money, with the money, can you guarantee the money would not go away?
I cannot guarantee the money wouldn't go away. It's not mine, but I know the conversations that I had was about restructuring. And it was really about the importance of dividing up the two areas of responsibility. My recommendation has always been in the best interest of the district that we need to keep those positions split. That it should not just be one CAO position handling all operations and all instruction.
How can you say that it's not tied to one person and also say you can't guarantee if it was a different person that the money would not go away? Those things seem contradictory to me.
I think it's tied to maybe skill. So I recommended the person that's in that position right now because of skill that they have. And I think, honestly, I can't speak for Chamberlain, but I think there will probably be a conversation about the skill of that person that comes in that position if this other person vacated the position for any reason.
Go ahead, trustee Phillips. Have your one more question. Have your fourth question.
I just want to clarify what I think I heard. I think I heard you just say that you can't speak for, go ahead.
Can I clarify? So in every conversation that I've had with Chamberlain, I've made it very clear that it's the superintendent that makes the selection, not Chamberlain. That was the conversation.
But what you, and this is, and I'm going to stop after this, and thank you for the additional question. But you think if a new person came in and said they wanted someone else, that, because this is what I think I heard you just say, that Chamberlain will want to have a conversation about that person's skill level, which implies that he would be influencing the hire for the district. That's what I think. Well, I know that's what you just said, but what I took from it is that last part.
Yeah. I think it's possible to do both, sir, just to be very honest with you. I think it's possible to, for the superintendent to make a selection, but then have that conversation that this person has a skill to be able to do the job that we want them to do. I think it's a conversation with them.
Him. I understand.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Reckler, you have 3 questions?
I do, thank you. So the letter that was mailed to us on October 2nd, which does say it will retain current personnel serving, is this no longer valid, this October 2nd letter?
Are you referring to the letter that I sent you
Yes,
that was going to come to the board?
yes.
I think that would be valid.
So you think this letter would be valid?
If the board agreed, yes.
So this letter does say that the WCCUSD is going to retain current personnel serving as associate superintendent. And once again, this is not about the person. Okay, this is one of these really uncomfortable public moments where I'm just cringing. This is not about the people, but it is about the process and the structure. So if this letter is going to stand, then it does say that they're going to retain current personnel serving through
And-
27, 28.
And again, this is a difficult conversation to have with Ms. Raproskas here. But I would probably say that's in there because of the skill that she has and the belief that I have in her. So her being in this position, doing the job that she's doing is important. And again, I can't speak to like their intent, but I know that would be my recommendation.
Do you have any other questions, trustee Reckler?
No, that's it.
Do you have anything else to add, Superintendent Hurst? Can I ask if anyone have anything to add from cabinet? Okay. Trustee Reckler, would you like to re-motion about having this tabled?
I would like to motion to table the item
Do you have a date until when?
until we have a permanent superintendent who can make the decision.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Now we're gonna go to the vote. Well, do we have any comment? No, being none? All right, let's go to the vote. All right, trustee Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, trustee Espinoza Junior.
Yes.
Thank you, trustee Phillips. I'll come back to you, trustee Christian.
Yes.
Thank you, trustee Reckler.
Reckler, yes.
Thank you. I'm back around to you, trustee trustee Phillips.
I am going to abstain on this one.
Okay, and I'm a yes. We are now moving on. Thank you very much. Board, we are now at 9:30 and we are going to do 2-minute public comments. We're on item G, comments from the Board of Education and future agenda items. We'll have 2 minutes apiece. And anyone ready to start now? We'll go from my right to my left. Trustee Reckler, go ahead.
Thank you. So in a bit of good news, we interviewed with CSBA, California School Boards Association, as a finalist for Education Workforce Housing Workshop. It was Sonia Bustamante, Chief of Staff from John Joya Office, Maureen Toms from the county, Madeline Cronenberg, former board trustee, Sarah Butler from Contra Costa County Office of Education, Jim Sanders, Chair of the 7-Eleven Committee, Ms. Payne, Mr. Christian. We interviewed, and we will know at the end of August whether we are accepted into the program. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. I think it went really well. On January 10th, 2024, the board passed a resolution on my censure. I was removed from committees through June 30th. On July 30th, I asked to be reinstated to committees. Today is October 24th, and that item has still not been brought forward. Please agendize my committees so that I can at least have a shot at being reinstated. According to California Ed Code 35144, a majority of the board may call for a special meeting. I would like to encourage board members to follow my lead and ask that a special meeting is agendized so that we may discuss an action item planning out the process for looking for a new superintendent. The meeting would include a timeline, the people that we want to contact for search firms, and other items of interest on that topic. And if you agree with that, you can just say it, and it will happen according to Ed Code. Thank you.
Trustee Christian, your comments, please. Wait for the clock, sir. Go ahead.
Yes, few things I just want to highlight this evening, based on Zalon Harrison mentioned about the OASA, especially, for the African-American students, making sure that those resources are there to enhance our African-American students throughout the district, such as even the BSU trip or whatever activities. We need to put value to these things because it's very important for our young people, young African-American students in this district. And then we need to look at, based on the information this evening from the Stage community, we are going to get Stage rebuilt. And it's going to take the other extra money to have that we need to get so we can make a fully rebuilt school. And so we have 43 million, but we just need the other part of it, so that way we can work on seeing Stige become a community school in the Stige community. And so I say to the Stige community people, I am for you. I'm for you to see this school get rebuilt. And then also I want to highlight the other areas that what we need to continue to work on, continue to improve, and developing our, our district and making sure that we put things in place and making sure things are done correctly. And that is, and also referring to the superintendent, looking for, as we do go into that arena, I say that we look and to find a superintendent, for our district. Thank you.
Trustee Espinoza Jr., any closing comments? Trustee Wilson, any closing comments? Trustee Phillips, closing comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
First, I agree with calling a special meeting to start the discussion about the superintendent's search. I believe that that is three folks, board members with trustees Reckler and Christian and myself. The second thing is I would like an update on the bathroom situation at Grant. And although also the bathroom situations regarding K and TK, not just as far as the Williams complaints for this quarter, but I would like to add Olinda Elementary School to that as well. So that, Dr. Hurst, can we pause Dr. Hurst? So I would like to add Olinda to the bathroom situation, in addition to the schools that were on the Williams list for quarterly complaints. I want to restate what I said a meeting or so ago about Stige, and I want to clarify. I have never said that I want to close Stige. It got back to me that some individuals are saying that I said I want to close Stige, but funny things happen during an election year. What I did say, and what I will repeat right now, is that the district should fix Stige or close it, because it is inappropriate to keep kids in that situation. That's what I said a couple of board meetings ago. Fix it or close it. That is what I believe, and I stand by that statement. And that's all for this evening. I'd like to thank staff, especially our CAO, for her work that she's been doing.
Thank you, everyone. We are now, I do not have a closing comment. We are now adjourning our meeting. It is 9:39. Go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Is there future agenda items?
So in closing comments, you can call for future agenda items, but because you're like, what? I didn't know that. I'm going to let you go ahead and do that now. I'm going to put 2 minutes back on the clock. So if you and Trustee Espinoza, if you want to call for future agenda items, when we do board comments, it has like the titles like board comments and future agenda items. So that's when you throw them out and Dr. Hurst writes them down. And then when we have agenda setting, it's come back up. It's not a guarantee when it's going to come up, but it will come up. So that, and you will probably get a note saying, hey, we have agendized this maybe for November or December or what have you. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we got 2 minutes for both of you. Nope, you get 2 minutes and you get 2 minutes, okay? Go ahead, Trustee Wilson.
Thank you. I would like to raise an important concern regarding Occupational Safety and Health Administration guidelines on workplace temperature, specifically in California, which are being violated at El Cerrito High School, and I'm sure many other schools in West Contra Costa Unified School District. According to Cal OSHA, indoor workplace should ideally remain below 82 degrees Fahrenheit to ensure the health and safety of workers. and students. However, several rooms at ECHS have consistently exceeded this temperature by up to 10 degrees over the highest suggested temperature, which not only impacts the comfort and well-being of students and staff, but also disrupts the learning environment. Teachers at my school told me they've had students either leave early or not come to school strictly because of the heat in their classrooms. I propose that we schedule future discussion on this matter and a future agenda item to address this issue and explore potential solutions, including the installation of air conditioning at not only El Cerrito High School, but across the West Contra Costa Unified School District. Ensuring compliance with Cal OSHA guidelines is essential to maintaining a safe and comfortable learning environment for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are going to put 2 minutes back on the clock, and Trustee Espinoza Jr., it's your turn.
Thank you so much, President. I would like to propose as well consideration for the beginning of a measure to be made revolving on implementing a list of student rights here in the state of California within every classroom from elementary, middle, and high school. And across other parts of the campuses as well that students can access alongside staff members as well. A piece of research we can begin with is a handbook on student rights and responsibilities authored by Boyer P. August, alongside more up-to-date information on this matter. Me, alongside student trustee Luke Wilson, attended a symposium conference, which you guys were gracious enough to pay for. We thank you. We give our gratitude for that. We attended this conference with other student board members across the state, gathering, discussing critical ideas to bring to our district, both of us agreeing that this is one critical idea that we would like to begin with. Further discussion for more details with the cabinet as well would be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Hurst, with the student right one that Trustee Espinoza Jr. put, could you confer with Trustee or Clerk Gonzalez-Hoy and see if it goes to governance first? Because I believe that's going to be a policy. So if it's going to go to governance first, Trustee Wilson, with yours, it's a conversation with solutions directly attached to it. So that one would probably come back through Teacher Payne. So on the agenda. So that's kind of how we would delineate it. But Dr. Hurst is going to discuss it with Clerk Gonzalez-Hoy, who's head of the governance committee. He will get back to you and let you know exactly how that's going to come forth. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. It is now, I don't have my piece of paper in front of me. When is the next scheduled board meeting? Anyone have it on their agenda? Let's see who can do it first.
November 6, 2024.
Absolutely, you win the prize. Our next scheduled board meeting is November 6, 2024 at Lavanya Dejan. We are now adjourning the meeting at 9:44. Thank you. Good night, everyone.